Welcome to The Marketing Behind Rapid Growth, the podcast where we explore the strategies, decisions, and growth engines behind some of the world's most successful technology companies. Today, we're talking about Make.com. Picture a room full of 60 employees in Prague, October 2020. Their company has just sold for more than $100 million. This should be the best day of their professional lives. Instead, the room goes silent. Not stunned silent, grieving silent. Because the thing they built together quietly, stubbornly, for nearly a decade is about to become something else. And they don't yet know if that something else will still feel like theirs. That moment is where our story really begins. But to understand why it hurts so much, we have to go back 8 years earlier to a much smaller room and a much bigger bet. Part 1. The Anti-MVP. It's 2012. In the startup world, there is one commandment everyone follows. Ship fast. Build a minimum viable product. Get it in front of users even if it's embarrassing. Iterate in public. A small team inside a Prague company called Cloud Service quietly decided to ignore that commandment entirely. They were systems integrators. People who connected software for a living. And they were frustrated. The tools on the market, including the category leader Zapier, worked on simple linear logic. If this happens, then do that. One step, then the next step, then the next. But real business processes don't work that way. They branch, they loop, they fail halfway through and need to roll back. They need conditions, exceptions, parallel paths. So instead of shipping something simple and fast, this small team disappeared. For 4 years, they built in near total silence. While competitors were signing up users with clean, wizard-style interfaces, this team was obsessing over something much stranger and much riskier. A visual, node-based canvas. A circular map where you could connect anything to anything, branch a single trigger into dozens of parallel actions, and collapse complex data back into one clean output. They weren't building a tool. They were building a visual language. When they finally launched publicly in 2016 under the name Integromat, they hadn't just entered the market. They had built something competitors would spend years trying to catch up to. That's the first lesson hiding in this story. In an industry addicted to speed, sometimes the real moat isn't being first. It's being irreplaceable. Part 2. The insider's choice. Here's where the marketing story gets interesting. Because Integromat didn't launch with a marketing department. It didn't launch with venture capital. It didn't even launch with a sales team. What it had was a free tier. A genuinely generous one. 1,000 operations a month with almost no features locked away. Anyone could walk in and experience the full, uncompromised product before paying a cent. And the people who walked in were technical, power users, consultants, the kind of people who, once they find a tool that finally does what they need, don't just use it quietly. They build businesses around it. They write tutorials. They post on Reddit. They answer questions on Product Hunt. They become, without any formal arrangement, an unpaid marketing department. Integromat became known as the tool you graduated to, the thing people whispered about once they'd outgrown simpler platforms. It had a kind of insider cachet, a cult following in the no-code world. And the numbers backed up the whisper campaign. By 2019, the company was growing at 277% year over year, without a single dollar of outside funding. This is product-led growth in its purest form, not a marketing team convincing people to try something. A product so good that the users become the sales force. Part 3. Brain meets muscle. Which brings us back to that silent room in October 2020. Celonis, the German process mining giant, had built its empire on insight. Its software could look inside a company's operations and say, with striking precision, exactly where the invoices were getting stuck or where the supply chain was leaking money. But knowing where the problem is and fixing it are two different things. Celonis could diagnose. It couldn't operate. It had brain, but no hands. Integromat had exactly the hands Celonis needed. Robust error handling, transactional reliability, the ability to break, commit, ignore, resume, or roll back a process automatically. For Celonis, acquiring Integromat wasn't just a talent buy. It was buying an execution layer for its entire strategic vision. For the Integromat team, it was something else entirely. It was the resource to finally grow up, to move from a scrappy, bootstrapped underdog into a serious global player. But growing up, it turned out, would require giving something up. Part 4. The Gamble. In February 2022, the company did something that, on paper, looked reckless. They threw away the name Integromat, a name that, however clunky, owned 100% of its own search results. If you typed it into Google, every single result was about them. In its place, they chose Make, a premium domain, make.com, a name meant to sit alongside Figma, Notion, Stripe, brands that don't just describe a product, they signal ambition and creative power. The logic was sound in a boardroom sense. Their users weren't just connecting apps to each other. They were makers, builders, creators solving real problems. The new name was supposed to capture that identity. But here's the catch. Make is one of the most common verbs in the English language. It was already competing for search space with a decades-old developer tool called GNU Make, and with an entire print magazine called Make Magazine. The result for the existing ecosystem was brutal. Years of tutorials, community content, and consultant guides, all the unpaid marketing that had built the company, got buried under searches for how to make a cake or how to make money online. Loyal users had to start typing competitor names alongside their own support searches just to find help with the product they already loved. It's worth sitting with that for a second because it's a genuine strategic tension, not a simple success story. The rebrand traded away searchability, a resource the company didn't own alone. Its creators and consultants had built years of content on the old name, and that equity took the hit. And yet, from a pure business standpoint, the gamble appears to have worked. By 2026, the company reports more than 100,000 paying customers and roughly 100 million euros in annual recurring revenue. The brand successfully repositioned itself from a niche integration tool into what the company now calls a global innovation platform. Which raises the real question at the heart of this episode. Was it worth it? Part 5. Building for what comes next. The company didn't stop at the rebrand. Moving into 2025 and 2026, Make positioned itself at the center of the next wave in the industry, agentic AI. Instead of treating artificial intelligence as just another module bolted onto the platform, the strategy shifted to treat AI as something closer to a collaborator. The technical signature of this move is bidirectional support for something called the Model Context Protocol. In practical terms, this means AI agents from tools like Claude or ChatGPT can trigger Make workflows as if they were tools in a toolbox. And in the other direction, Make's own workflows can reach out and call on remote AI services themselves. It's a subtle but important move. Even as the brand went mainstream chasing the broadest possible market, the product itself stayed technical, flexible, and built for power users. The company didn't dumb down the engine to sell more tickets. It kept the engine uncompromising and changed the paint job instead. Closing. The lessons. So what does the story of Make.com actually teach us? First, product obsession can be a genuine competitive moat. 4 years of quiet, stubborn building at a time when every mentor in the industry was preaching speed created an architectural advantage that took competitors years to approach. Second, a rebrand is never just a logo change. It's an identity decision, and it comes with trade-offs. Trading a name that owns its search results for a name that signals ambition is a real bet, not a free upgrade. It can pay off, but it doesn't come without cost. Third, ecosystems are fragile. When a company changes its identity, the people who built content, trust, and word of mouth around the old identity often absorb the damage first. Any leader making this kind of move needs to reckon honestly with that cost, not wave it away as a footnote. And fourth, product-led growth and enterprise ambition are not mutually exclusive. By keeping a generous, low-friction, self-service model alive while leaning on a parent company's enterprise reach, Make managed to hold on to both the solo builder and the Fortune 500 buyer at the same time. In the end, this is a story about tension, held on purpose, a slow, almost stubborn build cycle followed by an aggressive, high-risk sprint into a global market. A deeply technical product wrapped in a deliberately generic mainstream name. Growth in this story isn't luck. It isn't a clever algorithm or a viral moment. It's the discipline to build something genuinely better, and then the nerve to rename it for the market you want to win, not just the niche where you already feel safe. This was the marketing behind rapid growth. See you in the next episode.